I'd like to call the Monday, April 9th, 2018 Blue Springs Planning Commission meeting to order. And if I could ask you to please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to welcome everyone here tonight and those that also are watching. What we have on our agenda this evening is the consent agenda is item 1. Number 2 is a public hearing conditional use permit for Rhonda Witten Daycare. Item 3 is a public hearing conditional use permit for Robin Wright Daycare. Items number 4 is the site plan and design review for Aldi Grocery Store, and item 5 is also the preliminary plat for Aldi Grocery Store. Item 6 is the final plat for Aldi subdivision and replat of lot 2, block 1. Item 7 is other business, followed by item 8, adjournment. So with that, I would entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Peel?
I move that the minutes from the March 12th Planning Commission be approved as submitted by staff.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Fairbanks? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. Okay, the motion carried to approve the consent agenda. Now, on item 2 is a conditional use permit. Since this is a public hearing, let me read the instructions for public hearings since we have 2 public hearings. I'll open the public hearing, followed by calling for the exhibits from our city attorney. Then the staff will make their presentation. We'll also follow by questions from the commissioners. The applicant can make their presentation. We'll call witnesses in favor, then witnesses any opposed. We'll finally have questions and general discussion by the commissioners. And I'll close the public hearing, at which time we'll vote. So with that, I will ask the city attorney to please read the exhibits. And let me open it first. I'll open the public hearing for conditional use permit on the Rhonda Witten Daycare. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on March 24, 2018. 3, application with attachments. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And 9, letter dated 3/6/2018 from Rhonda Witten.
Thank you. Mr. Wright?
All right, thank you, Chairman Banks and Commissioners. Before you this evening is a request for a conditional use permit for a in-home daycare at 29405 Southeast AA Highway. The applicant, Rhonda Witten, has been operating an in-home daycare since 1995 at her current residence. Staff, however, noted the need for a conditional use permit with the 2018 business license renewal, since a conditional use permit for the daycare general use has not been approved. The daycare general use accommodates in-home daycares with children between, 5 to 10 unrelated children in the home. Conditional use permit standards for in-home daycares were changed with the 2015 UDC to align with the state's requirements. The state does require licensing for all daycares that have 5 or more children in the home. The previous UDC didn't require a conditional use permit unless there were 7 or more children to be cared for. So in some cases, there were daycares that had 5 or 6 children that were licensed by the state, but we didn't require a conditional use permit, but we do now. So that's the reason why some of the daycares are coming before you this evening. Hours of operation are generally between 6:30 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, which is normal for in-home daycares. The applicant is currently licensed by the state through October 2019. One of the conditions is that the applicant must continue to be licensed by the state and in good standing with the state. The conditional use permit is good for 1 year, but will be renewed automatically as long as the provider continues to renew and maintain a current business license, which is renewed on an annual basis. Staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit for Rhonda Witten's Daycare at 29405 Southeast AA Highway. subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wright? Okay. No, I guess not. Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward? Or you'll need to be sworn in?
Oh.
No, just stay right there, and then just raise your right hand.
Okay.
Sorry, swear the testimony about giving this case to be the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Need your name and address.
Rhonda Witten, 29405 East AA Highway, Blue Springs, Missouri, 64014. I've been doing daycare in my home at this current location for probably almost 24 years. And I have been state licensed, and I plan on continuing, obviously, to do the same as long as I'm granted my conditional use permit. Any questions?
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? I gather not. Thank you very much. Now I'd call, is there any witnesses that would like to speak in favor? Yes, ma'am? Yeah, you'll need to come forward, be sworn in. You'll need to raise your right hand and
You solemnly swear the testimony about giving this case to be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Need your name and address.
180 Evanston, 1308 South Home Avenue, Independence, Missouri. Yes, my granddaughter has been in Rhonda's daycare for 3 years, about 3 years. And she does a wonderful job. I could not ask for better protection or better care or better education for my granddaughter. And I certainly hope it continues, because everybody that has kids in her daycare definitely needs her services, and she does an outstanding job. I have no fear, no concern about my granddaughter being there whatsoever. She is one of the best providers you're going to find.
Ma'am, can you please repeat your name?
Juanita Evenson,
Can you spell the last name?
Evenson.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Yes, ma'am? Would you like to come forward?
Yes.
Okay. Again, you'll need to be sworn in.
Okay, hi. Oh, sorry.
You solemnly swear the testimony about giving this case to be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Need your name and address.
Kaylee Rafferty, address is 1213 Northwest Long Drive, Green Valley, Missouri, 64029.
Would you like to spell your last name, please?
Rafferty, Raffurty. So I wasn't prepared for this, so
That's all right.
real quick. I have a son with special needs. He has been with Rhonda since he was 3 months old, and he is now going on 5 this July. My son has been kicked out of every daycare. He's been to 5 different daycares prior to that, after leaving her address due to issues with the school board. Again, we live in Green Valley, where the drop-off was for her. The Green Valley School Board, after doing it for 20 years, her being grandfathered into it, decided they would no longer allow him to go or pick up from her address anymore. Long story short, my son had left her program, and just his behavioral issues digressed horribly. He's been kicked out of 4 daycares. Long story short, during that time at Miss Witten's house, there was just not only the love and the affection that she gives our kids, but the willingness to get with us parents and work with us individually on what needs met for our children. Again, without her, me and my husband would not have been able to continue to work and make ends meet if it wasn't for her being willing to take on that special case for us and love our baby, even through the problems that we still have. So again, my 2-year-old goes to Miss Rhonda. It's like family, but more than anything, her children that she takes care of them like they're her grandchildren. Every morning our babies are kissed, they're loved, they're safe, and it would just be a shame if anything like this was to cause our children not to be able to go to this lady, because again, when nobody else would help us, she would. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Is there any else that would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition? Okay, I'll bring it back up front. Do any of the commissioners have a comment or have any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And at this time, I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Grimm?
I would move for approval of conditional use permit CUP-03-18-6292 Rhonda Whitten Daycare Center with the 4 staff conditions.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Casey? Okay, we'll have a roll call.
Planning Commissioner Cradoff.
Aye.
Commissioner Casey.
Aye.
Commissioner Graham.
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks.
Aye.
Commissioner Peel.
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Duhan.
Aye.
Commissioner Billups.
Aye.
Commissioner Haney.
Aye.
Chairman Banks.
Aye. Motion carried, and that was the public hearing for the conditional use for Rhonda Whitten Daycare, so that motion has carried, and that will be filed.
Yep, it's approved.
It's approved. Now, we'll go on to I'm going to open the public hearing for Robin Wright Daycare, and ask for the city attorney to read the exhibits.
Madam Chairman, I offer the following exhibits into the record. Exhibit 1, staff report with attachments. 2, affidavit of publication in the Examiner on March 24, 2018. 3, application with attachments. 4, 185-foot notification map. 5, names and addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site. 6, copy of the letter sent to said property owners. 7, Title IV Land Use Section, Blue Springs Code of Ordinances by reference. 8, 2014 Comprehensive Plan by reference. And 9, letter dated 3/15/2018 from Robin Wright.
Okay. Mr. Wright?
All right, thank you, Chairman Banks and Commissioners. Before this evening is another request for conditional use permit for a daycare at 3922 Southwest Jackson Street. The applicant, Robin Wright, has been operating an in-home daycare since 1999 at her current residence. Staff noted the need for conditional use permit with the 2018 business license renewal, since a CUP for a daycare general use has not been approved. The daycare general use does accommodate in-home daycares with 5 to 10 unrelated children. As mentioned in the previous agenda item, conditional use standards for in-home daycares were changed with the 2015 UDC to align with the state's requirements, which require licensing for all daycares with 5 or more children. Hours of operation are generally between 6:45 a.m. and 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, which is normal for in-home daycares. The applicant is currently licensed by the state through October 2019. And one of the conditions is that the applicant must continue to be in good standing and be licensed with the state. The conditional use permit is good for 1 year, but will be renewed automatically as long as the provider continues to maintain a current business license, which is renewed on an annual basis. And staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit for Robin Wright's Daycare at 3922 Southwest Jackson Street, subject to the 4 conditions in the staff report, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Wright? Yeah, they're not. Would the applicant like to come forward? You'll need to be sworn in as well.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Leave your name and address.
My name is Robin Wright. I live at 3922 Southwest Jackson Street, Blue Springs, Missouri. I have been operating at this location. It'll be 19 years this August. Our state licensed for 19 years. Yeah, what else would you like to know?
Do any of the commissioners have a question for the applicant?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Wright, have there been any safety violations since you've had the daycare? Not safety, but any violations of any ordinances or inspections?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Are there any other questions? Together, no. Thank you. That's all. Okay. Now, do I hear any witnesses like to speak in favor? Anyone? Yes, sir. You'll need to come in and be sworn in.
You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Leave your name and address.
My name is Leo. Last name is Eisert, E-I-S-E-R-T, 3918 Southwest Jackson. I'm a next-door neighbor to the Wrights, and we lived there about 20 years, and so we've had pretty good experience of what takes place there. We don't have any children that need daycare, but if we did, I feel very comfortable about them being there and with the watchful care. I think it's a safe place, clean place, and kids seem to be having a lot of fun when they're outside. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor? All right. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, I'll bring it back up here then. Do the commissioners have any comments or questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Casey?
I just wanted to take a minute to thank the applicants for the important service that they provide for our community while we have them here. Early child care is so important, and what you do really matters. I'm speaking as a dad of a couple young kids myself, so I just wanted to say thank you for the service that you've done for years now, and the service that you're going to continue to provide in the future. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. I'm going to close the public hearing and would entertain a motion for the public hearing conditional use permit for Robin Wright Daycare. Do I hear a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Haney?
make a motion to approve conditional use permit CUP 03186315 with the 4 conditions.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Was that Commissioner Casey? Okay.
Cradoff.
Oh, Cradle? I'm sorry. Came from down there, I know that. All right. It'll be a roll call.
Planning Commissioner Casey,
Aye.
Commissioner Graham,
Aye.
Commissioner Fairbanks,
Aye.
Commissioner Peel,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Duhan,
Aye.
Commissioner Billups,
Aye.
Commissioner Haney,
Aye.
Commissioner Cradoff,
Aye.
Chairman Banks.
Aye. And now that that motion has also been approved, now I will say it's good to know that children are well cared for and taken care of in Blue Springs, and thank you very much. Okay, now we'll go on to item number 4. That's the site plan and design review for Aldi, and we'll hear 4, 5, and 6. We'll hear the site plan, preliminary plat, and final plat together. We'll vote on them all separately. And this will be Nathan, and since these are not public hearings, you want to go right ahead, Mr. Jury?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Planning Commissioners. Before you today are 3 requests, one for the site plan design review, and as well as the preliminary and final plat approval to combine 2 lots into 1. The property is located at the northeast corner of South Avenue and 7 Highway. Pretty close to the railroad tracks there. It's approximately 3.31 acres. The zoning is general business. There's the existing Aldi's grocery store on one side, the platted lot already, and the unplatted lot is the carpet store that's been there for a while. On this, the applicant is proposing to build a 22,000 approximately square foot general commercial building behind the existing Aldi's. They will demolish the carpet store there that's existing on the plat behind, or the lot behind. They will, during this process, keep the as far as I've been told, they will keep the existing Aldi's running as long as they can until they have to, or they'll try and finish the building behind it first, keep the existing Aldi's running, and then for a short time between there, demolish the existing building, pave it as parking, and then reopen the existing, or the new building behind the existing building. I'll show you site plans on this now. So the land use is allowed. It is general business zoning, and as a retail use, that is allowed within the general business zoning. The vehicle access on the property, the applicant provided the or propose to keep the existing drive along South Avenue, and adding one drive approximately where the rear of the existing building is, but the front of the new building. Both are allowed by Public Works and MoDOT. They are proposing to close the cross-access drive between AutoZone to the north and themselves, but keep the existing eastern cross-access drive. There is an existing cross-access agreement between the two properties as well. So that still is in effect, and they are allowed to access 7th Highway through that. Pedestrian access, the developer will be required to install sidewalk all the way across South Avenue. There is existing sidewalk along there and 7th Highway, but they will be required to fill in where necessary for the public improvement side. And then there will be a sidewalk connecting the main entrance to the sidewalk along South Avenue as well. As far as the building, it is a general commercial building, and that type of building is allowed in general business. The setbacks and building massing of the proposal it does meet all setbacks and comes within the building height and the building coverage percentage allowed by the UDC. The closest points are to the rear, where it does meet the 25-foot setback, provided that it is as shown at 25, and then also on the southern side of the building, where it's 25-foot setbacks required as well, and they provided 27. So they do meet all the setback requirements. In terms of parking, they provided the required parking spaces all in front of the building, and also the required ADA and bike parking along near the north side of the building. As far as landscaping, the applicant has provided has requested an alternative compliance landscape plan. They are short along the east buffer and in the parking lot, and in the open space, but overall they did provide more than necessary on the west buffer as well as the south buffer, and that made up for the shortages on the places that I've mentioned. So overall they are providing 38 plant units more than what's required. The main places that staff did want to see landscaping on that east buffer, they did provide some extra trees next to the residential to the east of this property. On the east side, where they didn't provide the extra trees behind the building, that is an open space tract, and staff believes that the fence and the pine evergreen landscaping will suffice along that tract. The lighting plan I think I missed it. The lighting does meet all the the UDC requirements for brightness across the parking lot for nighttime visibility, as well as the maximum allowed lighting levels at the property line, so it doesn't spill over and glare onto the street. So they have met the lighting requirements. They are providing stormwater drainage for the whole site in the northeast corner, of the property, and they are going through the platting process to make sure that all of the easements for the drainage as well as utilities and everything else have been provided. And I'll go through that here in a little bit. As for the building itself, here's the floor plan, mainly retail space within, and then the truck loading dock will be on the north side of the building, and the dumpster will be within the loading dock as well on that north side of the building, which provides shows for a gate enclosure on the front side. Doesn't have anything on the other three sides, but it is below grade, so staff believes that it is pretty minimal in terms of the visual impact on the street. Mainly it's set far enough back, and the building itself blocks it from view from South Outer as well. As far as the building design and its materials, the building is approximately 29 feet tall, which is less than the maximum allowed by code. It's a mixture, facaded with a mixture of fiber cement cladding, brick concrete masonry veneer, EIFS, aluminum panels, and a membrane roof on the top. There are some glass windows and doors, as well as some metal soffit, fascia, and gutters. They did provide some variation on the rear facade with changes in material rather than just the solid facade across the entire rear. That way the residences behind them have a little more variation on that side, as well as the fence and the landscaping that will help soften the edge on that side. I'll go on over the final plat now and just go over that real quick. Here's an image of the preliminary plat, and I'll dig into the final plat a little bit more. On the final plat, the lot will be, or the lot does provide the minimum lot width, which is 75, and it's greater than that on all sides. And there is no lot size minimum in general commercial building types or for the general business zoning district. There will be some public improvement requirements along South Avenue for the road. With the proposed signalization of South Outer at 7 Highway, Public Works and MoDOT have requested that they do dedicate a little additional right-of-way for right turn lane when you're turning right on South Outer heading north. That way it'll hopefully alleviate some traffic backup, and hopefully for Aldi's sake reduce some cut-through traffic possibly as well. They also requested a triangle out of the lot to manage for the sidewalk improvements required, as well as some of the signals and the spacing needed for those. There are utility easements as needed on this lot, and a stormwater detention easement across the northeast corner. Staff will mention that the landscape easement shown on this final plat shall be removed, and I'll just briefly mention the reasoning behind that, as we have before as a policy required landscape easements, but now that we're looking back through, we believe that landscape easements are redundant, since we do have in the UDC the requirement for landscape buffers already, and the landscape buffer gives them a choice between, usually for arterial or collector streets, a buffer B, which gives them the choice for a 15 or 25-foot landscape buffer. And so limiting them to 15 or 25 by placing on the plat does and has created some issues, which we'll actually get into next Planning Commission meeting. But we believe, staff does believe that this won't impact anything in terms of the enforcement of that landscape, since the landscape buffer language is in the UDC, and that is enforceable through the code enforcement policies. So with that, staff does recommend approval of the final and preliminary plat with 5 conditions and the site plan design review with 3 conditions. And I'll stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jury? Yes, Commissioner Billups?
Just a quick question. You actually said something that was going to be a question of mine. Is there a signal already approved for South Avenue, or is it just something that we are trying to get MoDOT to do?
I'll let Public Works answer that question.
There is an improved project by MoDOT that's under design right now, and it's expected to be constructed in 2020.
Sooner the better.
Were there any other questions for Mr. Jury? Commissioner Fairbanks?
Yes, I was curious about the zoning on that parcel that is to the east of where the back of the building is going to be. You said that the duplexes didn't start until further on up.
Yeah.
I think that's a detention basin.
No, I'm talking about that fronts out on South.
I believe it's a detention basin.
Here?
Yes.
Yeah, there is an open space tract along a good portion of that, the eastern side of the property for all these.
Is it a detention basin?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't know if Public Works knows that.
I don't believe it is, no. I know there's open ditches along the existing property for the carpet store
Yes.
that will be enclosed with a culvert, but I don't believe the tract to the east is a detention basin.
I was just concerned about the landscaping in there in case that's going to be developed in the future. You had mentioned trees along the northern boundary facing the duplexes, but it was just shrubs on that other section.
There are, so all of this line of junipers are going to be installed as 6-foot junipers, and they'll grow from there. And then these trees in the northern section of that east buffer, those are your typical large shade trees like your maples, honey locusts. And so those will grow pretty tall. They'll be 2-inch caliper to begin with, but eventually they will grow pretty tall.
Okay. So that drainage area is going to be covered with culverts?
Yes, the existing ditch that runs along the carpet property, and there's a driveway and a culvert, that'll be enclosed. The street will be improved with curbs and sidewalks, but then to the east it will not be. It'll be an open ditch again.
I was hoping maybe it would not be an open ditch.
Well, I mean, we're to the east. It's not part of this property, so we couldn't make them make improvements off site.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Jury?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Pete.
Mr. Jury, were there any roof projections that needed screening, or are those covered by the fascia?
Staff does believe that all of the rooftop units will be not visible from the street. There are a couple, I think, rooftop units that might be a foot or two taller than the parapet, but on a 29-foot tall building from the street, as long as they're set back far enough, they probably will not be visible. But staff still will require that if at the time of occupancy, when the applicant goes through the building permit process and requests occupancy, the UDC still must be met and the requirements of that. So if they are visible, we will require screening at that time.
Understood. The only concern I have is that because Aldi's does sit down from the plane, so it would be noticeable for traffic that's approaching from the north going southbound. They might be able to see that equipment. But thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Are there any other questions for Mr. Jury? Gather not. Thank you very much. Would the applicant like to come forward? And you don't need to be sworn in.
Okay. I'm Sam Malinowski, 919 West Stewart Road, Columbia, Missouri. Staff's been great to work with. Staff's been great to work with. We're in agreement with everything that they've stipulated.
Okay.
Any questions? I'd be glad to answer.
All right. Are there any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Billups?
Just a quick nosy question. How long do you anticipate being closed between while you're demolishing the old building and putting in the new parking lot?
If I had to guess, probably around 4 weeks.
So it would be a relatively short time?
Yeah. I mean, that's typically what they do. When they do their remodels, they're usually down for about a month while they cross over. That's probably about what we'll be doing here, too.
All right. Any other questions? Yeah. Mr. Cradoff?
I've heard a lot of good things about Aldi's lately, on both sides, the Kansas side and the Missouri side. And I wanted to ask you a question about your parking area and the shopping carts. I noticed in your area, I don't think you really have an area right now to put the shopping carts. Some of the stores have a deal where you pay to use the shopping carts. Will you be going to that concept?
Same deal. Yeah, you basically, you put in a quarter, and then you get your quarter back when you bring the cart back, is how they do it. And so that it works pretty well for them. We provide pass-through areas for for people to bring the carts back. So it's a pretty effective method they have.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Casey?
In the interim period where the original store is still open while construction's ongoing, will there be any issues with construction materials or vehicles or anything like that parked in the main parking area where customers are parking?
Shouldn't be. I imagine what they'll do is they'll probably stage maybe a little bit to the north. They might. They shouldn't. They'll work around that. But I mean that's something they'll take into consideration.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to, I would entertain a motion on the site plan and design review for Aldi Grocery Store.
Madam Chair, before we get to the vote, I'd like to ask staff if there were any oppositional letters received. And any on the 185-foot notification, were there any that were?
Neither of these have a 185-foot notification.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now I'll return to my request for a motion on the site plan and design review.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Billups.
We'd move for approval of SPDR 03186312 with the staff conditions.
Okay, there's 3 staff conditions, all right? Do I hear a second?
Second.
And that was Commissioner Cradoff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. That motion has carried. It's been approved. I would also entertain a motion for the preliminary plat for Aldi Grocery Store.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the preliminary plat PP 03186313 with the 5 staff conditions.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Commissioner
Graham. Commissioner Graham. All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary plat for Aldi Grocery Store. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, same sign. That motion is carried. Now I'll entertain a motion for the final plat of Aldi subdivision, the replat of Lot 2.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Duhan?
I move that we approve the final plat PF 03186314 with the 5 staff conditions, I believe.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Commissioner Haney? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion is approved. The final plat will be heard at the City Council, by the way, on April the 16th at 6 p.m. They meet at 6 o'clock. All right, so thank you very much for all attending. Do we have any other business?
Just wanted to remind you that the next scheduled meeting is Monday, April 23rd. We do have a number of items on that agenda. So we will be back in 2 weeks. And also remind the commission that we do have a Eastern Jackson County Planning Commissioners Training next week at Lee's Summit. Is that right, Karen?
Yes.
It's at the Lee Summit Water Utilities Service from 5:30 to 7:30. You should have gotten an email, commissioners, and please let her know as soon as possible, like today, before you leave, if you can be there. And it's Tuesday, April the 17th. So if you, that's what.
Yep. And that is it. So thank you.
Okay. And finally, I would like to thank Councilman Dale Carter, who has been our mayor pro tem, sitting in on all of our meetings. And I want to thank you for devoting your time to sit in with us as the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there any other business? With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Commissioner Fairbanks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Good night.